mystery and horror, the air itself is filled with monsters.
Children of the night, what music they make. It's alive! It's alive!
Well, hello, all you monster fiends, and thank you for joining us for another deep dive, factoid-filled episode exploring Hollywood's most famous monsters. I am your mistress of ceremony, Sam, and I am joined, as always, by Dan from Bleeding Marvelous. Say hello, Dan.
Hello, Dan.
Oh, you actually said it this week.
I know, I'm keeping her on her toes. I'm not going to give you something every week. It's got. It's got
Do you
to be
know how many? Do you know how many comments I get from people saying how much they love your intro and outro?
my insane quotes from whatever movie we're starting doing.
That's true. Well, Dan, we're not alone. We are not alone this week. This week we're joined by, do I say the For Love of Horror's very own Neil Hibbert.
Hello, good evening. Buenos
Hi.
dias.
And all that jazz.
And all
I'm done
that.
now.
Oh,
This language is gone.
there's no culture in this episode. We are absolutely terrible.
We've got that out.
Yeah. Welcome to a new episode of the Monsters Up North podcast. Today is not a movie day. Today is just a general chit-chatty day. Yeah? Yeah.
Get to know you.
Yes, I like a bit of chaos when we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. Complete insanity.
Yeah, we did this not long ago, actually. We sat down and did a get to know you, and it just went off on one because we literally went off on everything and discovered a lot about my knowledge of Dawson's Creek. It's quite a bit. Quite extensive.
Mine is zero.
I think I know enough for everyone.
Yeah, it's a surprise to all of us that she had such knowledge.
It was a bit ridiculous. I'm not going to do the disclaimer.
Yeah, there's no point really, is there?
Nah, not really, given that we're not talking about a movie, we're just doing a general chit-chat. But
Yeah.
Firstly, let's find out about our guest. Neil, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So, I feel like I'm on blind date here.
I was
I'm
going to
79. Basically, I work for a company called Monopoly Events, and I do a live horror show myself called For the Love of Horror Live, which is connected to one of the biggest horror conventions in the world called For the Love of Horror, basically. Been doing that since 2019. Started with the company 2018, sort of become like the horror guy in 2019, thanks to the CEO of Monopoly Events, Andy Gleek. And then the rest is just insane history and crazy things happening in life for just a normal guy with a normal job who's a horror fan.
See, that's the thing. It's really weird because when we talk about a lot of films, and I'm like, Sammy looks at me and she goes, "Have you met them?" And I'm like, yeah.
I have to take a pause and wait and go, have you met them before?
Yeah. Now you think
Yeah.
we need to step back here because you think that's what no. This man, everybody and anybody, not just in the horror world, but in all of nerdom, fandom, there's somebody he's met. And I've got a couple of questions about that we'll hit later, but like it must be kind of nice to see the same faces over and not that they get like continuously the same guests, but I know you have a really nice bond with Costas Mandalore, don't you? You two are quite
Yeah, Costas Mandalore's me brother. Yeah, we speak a lot. I always find he calls me, so I'll wake up and I look at my WhatsApp and it'll be a 5-minute voice note off Costas. He calls me Cornelius, but he always says it's Costas, like I don't know who he is. I'm like, I always find that surreal. Like if you told me years ago, as a fan before I did any of this, that I'd be getting WhatsApp off to people like that, I'd be like, get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of them. It's just, yeah, I love Costas. He's just a lovable rogue like myself.
For those of you that might not know, I'll explain. Costas Mandalore is in Saw. He's been in many things, but he's most famous for being in Saw. Detective
Hoffman.
That's it, Hoffman. I went blank then for a second. My brain was like, Rolodex, go through it. Where are we?
We did do a Jigsaw episode.
We did, yeah.
We did do a Jigsaw episode. I'm sure he was mentioned. He was definitely mentioned on there because we went through every goddamn film, everything that was on Jigsaw.
Yeah, every Saw movie, which was painful to sit and watch every one of them back to back. I will say that.
Not
I
for
love
me.
kills. I love the kills in those movies. So for me, it's seeing how much more inventive they get every time.
Yeah.
But talking about Saw, we had for the love of horror, there is I'm not going to say her name right. She was in
Shawnee Smith and Dina Meyer. I think that's
I
right.
was going to say Dina, yeah, because obviously Dina's more famous from Starship Troopers. If you're around my age, that's where I first saw her and met her. Yeah, everybody.
There's no reason for the thumbs up. I'm just doing it.
Yeah. Would you like to know more? Yeah, she was the one that everybody reckoned that he should have gone with, but no, he liked eyebrows instead.
Johnny Rico, you silly sausage.
Yeah, everybody. But yeah, she's I know she's there, and obviously Shawnee's there. So I think that's another reason why people should come if they're not already, because they're dangerously close to selling out this show. And this show to me is absolutely insane that you guys managed to get the guests that you get, like the level of people you would never even think of, like the Thing reunion that's coming up as well at this. I know we've had a couple of people that have sadly not been able to make it, but that shit happens. You know,
it's part of the business. It's shit. But I like the way people go on. It's like I haven't met them myself. You know what I mean? It's like fuck off. You know, moaning to me, just fuck off. I want to meet them as well. You know what I mean?
I know we had this conversation the other day. Someone was like, because Alan Tudyk is dropped out, and they're like, why does this happen? And it's like, you got to remember these are still working actors. So if something comes along, they're obviously going to take it. Like, and it's no fault of the event, like organizer. It's their job.
Yeah, it's not just ARC, it's any convention around the world gets cancellations, and I guarantee you the comments are always the same. People, would they even contract them? Do you think if a big massive company like Monopoly Events didn't contract people, it'd be called out left, right and centre?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I love the comments when you guys throw up like a massive guest, like an absolute never seen before banger of a guest, and be it for horror, be it for any show, like Elliot Page. My God, you guys pulled that one out of the bag.
Wow.
But it was like the comments underneath is great guest, but could you get? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, people just enjoy the fact that they managed to get this.
Oh, the thing I hate is we just a world exclusive Ralph Fiennes, and then I got, could you bring them to horror? It's 45 minutes up the road to Liverpool, and we ain't going to bring a world exclusive guest to a convention 45 minutes away.
Yeah, Mr. Fiennes, would you mind just getting in the car and just coming with us? Like, no.
We have you now.
You think you're Voldemort?
That contract you signed. Ooh. Yeah, it's always been like one of those bones of contention, because obviously I've been on the convention circuit since with the business since 2016, and it comes and it goes, and you see different like companies come in, go out, levels of guests that you never would expect to see, and then they're everywhere, and then they're nowhere again, and there's like trends that you notice and stuff like that. So in saying that, who has been your favorite guest that you would never have said they would have been able to get? And then this is across all conventions. This doesn't have to stick specifically with Monopoly. This is just across the board, because I know you go to the US and do shows over there and things.
Yeah.
You can see the clogs turning.
I'm trying to think. The biggest one for me would have been George Romero, but I wasn't doing conventions. Or I couldn't. He did Brighton Comic Con. I think it was like 2016 or something mad like that. And I didn't really know what conventions were. I think my first convention was 2015 when I met Robert Englund in Manchester for 40 quid. Didn't have a clue what was going on or nothing. I was like, what's this? You know, I just seen, Freddy Krueger's there, let's go.
Yeah, my first ever convention was Showmasters, and that was the Sigourney Weaver year. So that was a hell of a banger to beat. But Going back to you, sorry, I just thought I'd drop that in.
Yeah, no, that would have been one, but obviously, I'm trying to think, really. Hmm.
Something.
I think you have.
Yeah, I don't really see. I don't like saying my favourites. Like if I had kids, picking my favourite kid, but
Yeah.
because I've been lucky enough to work with some fantastic people. So no, I can't really give a definitive answer on that one.
Right, I'll rephrase it then. Who's someone you thought you'd never meet, but you
Yeah.
met?
Ooh. Seth Green,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I was told by a lot of people he'd never ever do a convention.
Yeah. That one to me was absolutely insane when you guys got him, because for me, Seth has always been part and parcel on my TV through watching
Forever.
it, through
Yes.
Family Guy. I listen to him every night before I go to bed on Family Guy. You know, it's like,
Got the definitive answer for you. Tim Curry.
yeah.
Never in a million bazillion years did I think I would even get to lay eyes on him, speak to him, work with him, touch him. I never ever.
I
That's
just
happened
know.
so
I
long.
think this. I know how this podcast is going to go now. I'm just going to be in awe of everything because this is just so far outside of my world. Like, Dan knows this about me. I don't do I don't go up to celebrities. I'm too scared. Like physically too scared for it. So yeah, I'm just going to be sitting here in awe the whole time. Just oh my god.
I'm always probably too professional. I don't really fanboy. I just speak to them like I speak to my mates. And I think that I must resonate with them because I've always got on with everyone and built a rapport. And when I've worked with guests, if I'm their handler, they've always asked for me back. So I must be doing something right.
So can you say you've never fanboyed over absolutely anyone you've ever met?
Anyone?
Oh, I have, but only secretly. I've never stood there and gone, oh, Mr. Sunderland. Oh. You know, they're only neighbours. You know, I remember picking Kiefer Sutherland up from his hotel, and I seen him come out, and I was about to turn, and I literally did a little wee and went, "Oh my god, Kiefer Sutherland's getting in my car."
I'm hoping he hasn't thrown himself.
I'm hyperventilating for you just telling that story.
I was going to say at that point, I hope he hadn't thrown himself into the tree and called himself a pirate. That's still one of my favourite videos to this day. I'm a pirate. Yeah, brilliant.
He's such a class act as well.
I bet he is, because I've met him. I met him at Rhode Island the same year I met Tim Curry. Him and Jason that was the first show that they'd ever done when they came back together and started talking again.
Oh, nice.
And that was 2018, I think. And yeah, it was a bit of a shock because obviously the thing that people find that aren't big convention goers or go every now and again or don't really understand how they work, and then they come and they meet somebody, they don't realize people get older.
Yeah.
Yes, and they don't look like they used to.
Yeah, and it's a bit like sometimes some of the complaints you do see is like, oh well, they don't look like they did, and you're like, oh come on now.
It happens, people. Like it's inevitable. It is going to happen.
Yeah.
I went to the 2019 Phil of a Horror. It literally was I went on the Sunday. It was the Sunday before I got married, so it was my hen do really because I didn't have one. So and I did meet the Lost Boys apart from Kiefer Sutherland.
So people need to understand about that weekend. So Kiefer Sutherland was on a world tour, and he just happened to be in Manchester the weekend of the convention. How insanely like the stars aligning, you know.
That is crazy. It was that the year Tim Curry was there as well?
No, Tim was a year later, I think. No, Tim was 2022. It was after COVID. After COVID,
that's right.
Yeah.
Because the world shut down. Yeah, I went to that one. Yeah, I'm not very good when it comes. I remember standing in front of Jason Patrick.
What a guy!
He just looked incredibly anxious. And I was like, oh, he looks like how I feel right now. I'm gonna walk away. But my favorite will always be Tim Capello. I think that man is he was so lovely. I wasn't even I was there for someone. My friend was getting a book. He had this beautiful Lost Boys graphic novel, and he was getting it signed by them all. And I was literally just standing next to him, and he just went, "How are you doing? Are you all right?" And he's just talking away to us and asking about me travel and everything. So when I go this year, it's my husband's first time going to a big convention, I don't know what I was thinking. This is his first ever
It's gonna be
horror.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. It might be a bit overwhelming for him, but I've said we definitely, because we absolutely love the guy, and that's the one person I definitely want you to meet is him. I think you'll like put you at ease.
I've had a Nando's with Tim Capello. That's a story.
What?
Yeah.
He came on at the end of Kerry and Mike's wedding, didn't he?
Yes.
He-
Yeah.
I don't know
I was
whether
there
he
watching that.
played or he officiated. There was something he did at the end of the wedding. And I remember Kerry was crying. She'll never admit to it, but she was, because Sammy and the Nerdy Up North guys work a lot with Kerry and Mike on the Geek Asylum.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's how they know Kerry and Mike, and I know Kerry and Mike through doing the shows.
Same.
When it all sort of came about that everybody knew each other, and it is one big kind of like incestuous world that we all live in, that you realize somebody knows somebody by association.
Yeah.
It's
strange.
crazy. When Kerry and Mike, because obviously they've got the Geek Asylum and we've got Nerdy Up North, we're both from the northeast of England, and we were getting pitched against each other. And we got sick of it. So we're like, Kerry and Mike, come on the podcast. And Michael is a listener to Monsters Up North. He is a huge supporter of ours, and we've had him on before. I absolutely love Mike. He's adorable. Love you, Mike. Because I know you'll be listening.
I love Mike too, and I love Kerry.
Yeah.
Very good friends of mine.
They are lovely. Right. Okay. So, what would you say there is, in the grand scheme of any movie out there, we'll stick with horror for this moment. Do you think you've ever watched a film that's taken it too far for you? Like, not that you've had to turn it off, but you've watched it and you've gone, "Oof, that's going over there, and I'm never watching that again."
Personally, no, because I'm not a snowflake. But that's a simple answer.
I don't know what gave me the impression that you weren't. You know,
I'm an absolute lunatic, so you know, I just hide it well. I American Psycho it up, you know.
Oh,
proper like, yeah, Patrick Bateman.
Oh, we did that episode not long ago, and it was my first time watching it. You might see this as a common theme with me, Neil. I run a pop culture.
Very shielded,
podcast.
yes.
Yeah. Well, I run a pop culture podcast and a horror one, and I've not seen quite a lot. So
I've got something for you to watch.
Go on.
Go and watch The Sadness.
The Sadness.
The Sadness.
That is insane. It's an insane film.
No, it's a beautiful love story.
Yes, beautiful love story. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You do know I'll watch this back and I'll see what you did.
Fat fryer.
About what?
A chip fat fryer.
It's
a chip pan fryer. Well, I'm saying it wrong.
Right, has it got cannibalism in it?
Don't think so.
If there's no cannibalism, I'll watch it.
You're watching it anyway. That's by order.
By order. Okay.
Okay.
Well, you've kind of ticked some boxes, because my husband's in a horror mood, obviously, with it being the spooky season. I'm obviously into horror, and he loves Asian cinema. So you've kind of ticked a few boxes there.
I want to know your report on the next show.
It's a watch. It's a watch.
I don't want to look at the plot. I'm just going to leave it there, and I'll watch it. I promise.
So, what would you say is the best kill scene that's ever stuck with you for all the movies? We're talking Terrifier, Texas Chainsaw, Nightmare on Elm Street, any of the films you can think of. What is the one kill scene that's really always stayed with you?
So it's not just the kill scene, it's the whole movie itself. And it's not just me, it is probably everybody around the world. It is Jaws. Because no matter what, how old you are, what you do, when you go in the water, you think shark. You don't go into the woods and always think Jason. You don't. Normal people, non-horror people, if they've watched Jaws, they always go, no matter where they are in life, when they see water, they always think of shark. And that's because of Jaws. That is imprinted in everybody, I think, that's seen it.
That's actually right.
Yeah,
that's a really good answer, because I think you're right. Me and Dan did a couple of episodes just not long back of our first ever horror movies. We did Dan's, which was The Burning, and then we did mine, which was fucking Dolly Dearest. I hate admitting to that. What was your first ever horror movie? What was the introduction?
So the first ones I remember watching The Lost Boys on a New Year's Eve because we were at a house party and all the kids got sent upstairs, and it was on Channel 4 maybe.
Mhm.
And I remember watching it like, oh, I was only dead young, and I was like, oh, okay. And then obviously walking home, I kept thinking vampires are gonna get us from the top. And the other one is I used to live with my mum, my nan, and my granddad, and A Nightmare on Elm Street was on, and I'd always heard of this guy called Freddy Krueger. But so they took my telly out of my room. So my mother was upstairs on the TV, my granddad was on the other TV, and my nan was on the big TV downstairs. And I knew my nan was going to fall asleep. So I've sat there like a good little boy, 10:05. Sure enough, my nan's asleep. Bang! Nightmare on Elm Street goes on, and that was me hooked for life and terrified at the same time.
Yeah, I
I
remember
had
I remember
Go
my sister trying to watch Nightmare on Elm Street, and I was like, nope, we share a bedroom. I'm not being responsible for them nightmares. Let's just turn that off.
There's only two like nightmares that's ever in my whole life that's ever been associated with watching a horror film I've ever had. And one was when I first seen the same film as you, the Nightmare on Elm Street. It was, you know, where he comes through the wall, but he's not actually through the wall, and he's doing that
Yeah.
and crucifix and everything. I used to have a bit above my bed that looked exactly the same, no crucifix, but it was white. And I went to bed that night, but I was so scared he was going to come out of the wall. I didn't sleep all night. I must have, because I dreamed that he did, but like it was one of those things where, you know, you're petrified and you've got the pillow,
Yeah.
like everything's over your head. The other one was I actually got night terrors for the only time I've ever had night terrors, and that was from Silent Hill. I actually woke up and thought Pyramid Head had cut my legs off. And you know when you're like, you're absolutely paralyzed and you can't move, and
Yeah.
couldn't feel my legs, couldn't feel my arms, and I just was so convinced he'd chopped my legs off that it took me a long time to go back and watch it. Not because I was scared, but because I didn't want another dream like that.
No, I know that feeling. Silence of the Lambs. When I was at a sleepover. I think I've told this story before. I think I told Gareth it, and he just like laughed his arse up at us. Yeah, I was at a sleepover, and we all went downstairs for something, and my friend's dad was watching Silence of the Lambs, and I was like, "Oh, what's this?" And he's like, "Oh, it's about this doctor called Hannibal Lecter," and I went, "Oh, what kind of doctor is he?" And he started talking, and then he kind of told us what he was, and he was like, "Oh, and he's a cannibal," and I went, "What's a cannibal?" And he told us, and the fear of God came into us to the point where I was that scared, I got a trapped nerve in my leg. Could not stop shaking. And I went to bed that night, and I always remember having that. I mean, I think I went home early in the end because like I was that scared, but just having this image of him walking round the side where the door is and just being there, like, and looking at us in the body, you know, like the grey suit. Yeah, that, and so that started my fear of cannibalism. Even though Silence of the Lambs is one of my favorite films of all time, cannibalism just can get in the fucking bin. So I know that fear. I do know that fear.
So what is a movie that you always go back to, Neil? What is your comfort movie, your rewatch movie, your favorite easy watch?
Dog Soldiers.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, Dog Soldiers. I always like watching Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. I don't know why. It's not my favourite. Part 6 is my favourite, but I always find or Jason X as the easy watches.
Not 4, not with Corey Feldman in.
No. He's ingrained on my life. That's the bad thing of doing convention as well, is when you have a bad experience, you do watch the films differently.
I can imagine.
PTSD.
But Dog Soldiers.
Literally. Yeah, I love it.
We had Neil Marshall on earlier in the year.
He's my hero.
Oh, he's such a lovely guy. I've spoke to him. I've interviewed him twice now. Did it for Monsters, and then we interviewed him for his latest film, Duchess.
Duchess, yeah. I watched that the other day, actually. See, it's mad, you know what I was saying before? Neil is probably someone I could call a friend now, which for me, again, is insane for being a massive fan of his films.
He's
you know, it's like he knows who I am. He knows I exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Little old me.
You'll know who I am for all the wrong reasons. I got names wrong when I was doing the review.
Oh.
He knows.
He probably goes, there's that Scouse nutter again. Get him away.
He knows me as the Forrest Gump lady because he was at the other horror con, like the popcorn. And
yes.
And instead of just putting my hand up, I don't know what possessed me. You know, when you have a moment where you just don't think, I went. You know that meme, that little like
Yeah.
gif of Forrest Gump that gets really
Lieutenant
excited?
Dan.
That's me. That was me. Only walked past and I was just like you know, when you're just like,
Yeah, what have I just done? Yeah.
and it came out of nowhere. And like I do this every now and again. Like the first time I ever met Alan Tudyk, I told him he was the tallest person I'd ever met. I don't,
You haven't met many people then.
clearly not. I don't need just words fall out or something happens. It's just like a response. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm not allowed to meet people or be near people. I mean,
That'd be me. I'd say something really awkward and just kill the conversation. So that's why I don't go and talk to people. I just stay away.
the person that I've got the most sort of, I don't know what the word is, the it's sort of giggly and giddy over that I met of all the people was when I used to work at Butlins. She came in and she was doing a show at Butlins, and I had to bring her on stage and compare her on and everything. And I don't know what possessed me, but I just went to shit when I went in there and asked her what she wanted me to say to bring her on. It was Sonia.
Good, yeah.
Fucking Sonia. And to this day, I don't know where it came from. I just stood there and went, and it took me ages to get over that like initial like giddiness. Oh, the shame that I even think back about that now, because oh Lord.
You're just reliving it right in that moment.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Oh, bless you. Well, we are a monster podcast. Kinda. Sometimes. We throw monsters in there now and again. Have you got a favourite universal monster?
Wolfman.
Fuck yes!
You know why?
One for Larry.
Do you know why Wolfman's the best?
Go on.
Because Wolfman's got nads.
Kick him in the nards. What?
The love I have for the Monster Squad.
Yeah. It's the I renamed him Larry the Lurker, because when you watch that film, when you watch the Wolfman, he's always in behind trees and he looks like he's always lurking.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just stuck now, Larry the Lurker. But
I've getting a huge fascination for Larry and Claude Rains, the Invisible Man. I just absolutely love him. How many kills, Dan?
124.
124 in one movie.
Yeah.
He was our highest kill count, and that was even going through. Actually, Jason knocked him off.
It was
but it was a combination of so many films.
Jason X, because we don't know how many people were on the space station, do we?
I can't with that film. Oh God, I can't with that film.
I think it's got some of the best one-liners in this. He's screwed. You know, it's just tough. Part 6 is my favourite Friday the 13th anyway.
Because when did Kane take over? Was it from
7, 8, 9 and Jason X?
Yeah, because I know he did Jason X, but like, because he had his accident before he became Jason, didn't he? He had the big fire, the stunt accident before he did that, and then
possibly, yeah, I think so.
I think it wasn't long before that, but he went and did a massive fire stunt in one of the Jason movies, and he didn't even think twice about it. It didn't phase him. So he had like, I think it was like 40-50% burns across his body, wasn't it, from the movies for him? But yeah, that guy's fearless. Have you seen his ghost the ghost program he done?
No, but I've heard about it. I'm so far behind on things.
This is years old. It's him.
Oh, okay.
It's Kane. I think it was
I remember you talking about it on the episode.
I'm sure it was Gunnar when Gunnar was alive. And it's Tony Moran. And then there was one more, and I can't remember. There was a Leatherface, a Michael, a Jason,
something.
And yeah, there was someone else, but off the top of my head, and it was insane. And it was only one series, but they go around America like shouting at ghosts, and it's the most insane thing I've ever seen. But yeah, the Hollywood Paranormal, I think it was called. And I honestly thought I'd dreamt it, and then I actually Googled it and found it on YouTube, and it was real. And I was like,
I'm gonna have to look into this. Yeah,
it's just insane, absolutely insane. Oh. If there was anybody you could meet, dead or alive, horror or otherwise, who would it be?
George Romero, top of my list. Yeah. I was 1 foot away from John Carpenter. You've probably seen the famous video.
No.
Yes. So
What
yeah.
happened?
So I was at Halloween 45 convention in Pasadena last year.
Yeah.
And long story short, I've become friends with Malak Akkad, who owns Michael Myers. He owns the Halloween franchise. His dad was obviously Mustafa Akkad. Anyway, we become friends, not to name drop, long story. Great story, but long story. And then, so I was with him, and then he gets a text on his phone. Oh, John's arrived. Let's go and see him. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to meet John Carpenter, finally. So then someone was recording. So you see Nick Castle, then you see John, then Malak like pulls him on the shoulder. He doesn't realise it's Malak at first. And then he realises, and then I'm behind Malak, and then some guy stands in front of me. And I thought, you know what, I'm not even going to push past them. So I sort of sidestepped, just as John Carpenter done. And on the video, my head is just here, behind his shoulder. And then obviously someone screenshotted it and put music on it, and then put the Hibbert stalks. And I put a Michael mask on him and all that. But that's how close I got to John Carpenter. Yeah.
Because I know he does a lot of touring for his music, but he doesn't really do conventions, does he, John?
He does in America, but we've tried to get him over. Like, and I mean, like, tried, and he's just not interested.
That's the thing. I think some of these guys get to a certain point, and it's not even about the fame or the money or anything like that. They just are like, they just don't want to do it, which is fair dues. I mean, to be honest, people don't realize how much it must put someone through the ringer, because it's not even just having to sit there for the 12 hours we sit there for.
You've got to be switched on to every customer, otherwise that one bad interaction, that customer could be thinking for life that you're a divvy.
I wouldn't want to smile for 12 hours. I hate smiling for 5 minutes. So for 12 hours
some of them don't.
Oh, God.
Not naming any names. Tom Savini. You know.
Delight. You know he's a delight, Clang.
I love Tom. I've worked with Tom a few times. He's a happy soul.
Depends what mood you catch him in, as with every.
True.
But he's got to that point now where he doesn't. He don't really care.
He's Tom Savini. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, you don't really care.
That's very true. Is there any I was going to ask now. My brain's gone to mush. My tongue's starting to come back to life. Sorry, I had spicy food beforehand, and if I'm not wearing lipstick that makes me lips numb and I can't actually talk, I'm eating spicy food and making me tongue go numb. I forget what I was going to say.
Right.
I'm forgetting.
I was going to say, do you have a guilty pleasure movie that isn't horror? Can't be horror.
I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it. Oh, no. All right. I love Pretty Woman.
Surprising. I thought you were going to say something like Never Ending Story.
I thought you were... Oh, okay.
Pretty. I love Krull, but
yeah.
the absolute cheesy one that everyone can have a good laugh at is I love Pretty Woman.
That's actually, I mean,
that's not what I was expecting to come out of your mouth.
Not what I expected, yeah.
Yeah, I thought you might have like been a bit like gone down a sci-fi route because it's not horror. Like you can still, no, Pretty Woman. Okay.
What's your summit?
I'm literally looking at an original Krull quad poster that I've got framed up that I haven't put on the wall yet. That's how much I love Krull. But yeah, and I haven't got a Pretty Woman poster, unfortunately.
I was gonna say Krull's a really odd film, though, isn't it? It's like trying to explain it doesn't make any sense because it doesn't relate to anything else, but it kind of did in that time period when
it's got a brilliant cast.
Exactly. When you look at all those movies that were coming out, those fantasy style movies, it fit perfectly in that kind of world of weird, like Time Bandits and freaking
fuck Time Bandits.
When all those weird kind of fantasy movies were coming out, you know, like the original June and stuff like that, and it sit really well in there. But when you try and explain it to somebody, they're like, don't really know.
Yeah. And it's got one of the greatest lines in cinema history as well. You know.
Go on then.
It's Ergo the Magnificent. You're not going to make me do it, are you? I always get it wrong. I am Ergo the Magnificent, tall in power, small in stature, narrow of purpose, and wide of vision, and I will turn you into a goose. So something like that. It's close. But you have to watch it to you know. I didn't do the greatest impression there.
Amazing.
Oh, I just at the end just wanted to go honk.
Yeah.
Goose.
Turn you into
Love
a
it.
goose is my favourite. Yeah, that's my new favourite line now.
I like it. Guilty pleasure.
Yeah. What's yours?
Oh, so Steel Magnolias, but I wouldn't Steel Magnolias or oh god, I hate My Sister's Keeper. It's got Jason Patrick in, it's got Alec Baldwin in, Abigail
You ever
Breslin.
seen Solar Babies or Solar Warriors? It's got 2 names with a young
No,
Jason Patrick in. Give it a
no.
watch. So I absolutely nailed them. So I managed to find an original poster, and I said, Jason, can you just sign this for me, please? And he turned around, thinking it was going to be Lost Boys, and I just pulled out this Solar Babies one, and it's huge, and he just looked at me like, wow. I don't think he's ever signed one before.
That's
Amazing.
crazy. I actually only learned a few years ago who his daddy was, and his
Yes.
daddy's in one of my favorite films of all time, and I was like, oh, I didn't see the connection there.
Mhm.
Gutted. I didn't say it to him when I met him.
But yeah, it's, the whole thing with guilty pleasures is weird because for me, probably I go back to it. I'm a bit boring. I have 2. Depending on how I feel, I go to Marvel movies because they're easy watch. You can switch off. I don't have to think. It's just a nice sort of noise. But my real guilty pleasure will always be Adventures in Babysitting. It will always be Adventures in Babysitting. Like
I could have put money on that answer, to be honest.
Yeah.
I would have known that answer.
I know the word for word. I know the songs. I was lucky enough to meet Keith Coogan at Rhode Island in 2018, and yeah, just one of those things where like it's one of those movies where I want to see a cast reunion here, but to try and get Elizabeth Shue, Keith Coogan, oh god,
Vincent
Daryl,
D'Onofrio.
and just like everybody in one place, would be really, really hard because obviously Vincent's in Marvel now, so he'll be doing a lot of the Marvel movies because he's splintered
Yeah,
off.
it's got Born Again coming soon, so
Yeah.
that'll be
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that.
Keith Black's still off and on. I know. Oh God, the other one's in Star Trek. And Elizabeth's off doing whatever she's doing because she was in The Boys for a bit, wasn't she, as well? So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and here's one for you, because it's a guilty pleasure. I forgot to mention. What do you think my favourite John Carpenter film is?
Okay, hang on. Vampires.
No, but that's got one of the best openings in horror.
It's one of I absolutely adore that film. We did an episode on it because I badgered Dan into doing it. Just
I would
just
never get the thoughts of James in those tight trousers. That's never going to leave my brain.
I dream about them all the time. Leather and denim. Love it. But John Carpenter. That's the first film that always comes to my head, that and The Thing. I know it should be Halloween. No, I don't know.
So it's only because of I discovered that before I discovered Halloween, this film. And when I was a kid, that's who I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be Jack Burton from Big Trouble in Little China.
Chinaman.
That's film for me. I threw so many spinning kicks trying to be Wang/Jack Burton.
I was sitting there thinking, is it going to be that? But I don't want to say it just in case it isn't. I was like, But yeah, no, 100%.
I get slaughtered for being a horror guy, but obviously I'm just going off what my youth was. Do you know what I mean?
You're allowed to see. This is the thing. We have a disclaimer on here that basically says we can say what we like. You don't have to agree with it. It's fine. But if you want to start an argument about it, don't. Just have a discussion. We're cool with that.
And you can say Midsummer's a good film, and I'll tell you you're fucking wrong.
I'm with you.
Okay. I'll keep my mouth shut on that
I am with Neil because I not stand that film. There's only one bit in it I like, and I think was well done, and it was a surprise placement where the old people were jumping off the cliff.
Yes.
It was completely unexpected, and that took me by surprise. I was like, whoa, that woke me up out of the film. It was like, oh. But Ari Aster, to me, his stuff is very, very slow. It's very well paced, but that's not my kind of movie I enjoy.
I hated every second of it.
I like something that's a bit more. It doesn't have to be a gore fest. It doesn't have to have a mega storyline, but it's just got to keep me entertained. It's got to keep
engrossed.
yeah, and if I'm picking up my phone, then I'm
Then I
done.
know it's not a good film.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just,
Mhm.
we watched Smile at the weekend.
I enjoyed it. Looking forward to number two.
I didn't mind it at all. I mean, she made some really poorish decision making, which was annoying the shit out of us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She had someone who was on her side, who believed what she was saying, which to anyone else sounds fucking insane. But he believed her. And she left him out of everything. And I
Mhm.
was like, and oh my God, it was the guy from Jennifer's Body as well. The little
Yeah,
goth kid from
Kyle
Jennifer's
Gallner.
Body. Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle Gallner
I was
Yeah.
or
like,
Gallner.
why do I recognize those eyes? It was these eyes that give it away.
Do you know who her dad is?
Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
That was a surprise. I mean, I'd seen I think it might have been TikToks of her and her mum and her dad around the table, you know, and her brother and stuff like that, doing like skits and stuff like that because they like doing weird little TikTok things.
mm,
And yeah, I was quite surprised she chose to start acting because there's always that thing, isn't there, with kids that are legacy.
yeah.
Nepo babies.
Yeah, you know
You've
they.
always got to live up to them.
Yeah, I mean Kevin Bacon, come on. The guy's got 6 degrees of him. You know, everybody's related to Kevin Bacon in some way,
Mhm.
be it not not like birth related, but they've either worked with him or someone knows him, or the 6 degrees
Yeah.
of Kevin Bacon is a thing because it's real.
Have
You
you
know,
ever watched The Following?
is that the TV series where he was?
This,
He
he was
had
after the serial killer, yeah.
yeah, and it was the guy from one of the
Yeah, James Purefoy.
That's it. Yeah, yeah, that was an insane TV show.
So
No.
that TV show was basically what Scream 2 was meant to be.
Really?
Oh.
A cult of serial killers, yeah.
I see. That's where I thought they were going to go with Scream 6 with the whole museum thing.
Mhm.
And it was going to be like a cult of, of ghost faces. Ah, that'd be so good. But they didn't, obviously.
Yeah. I'm sure it's out there somewhere to read. But yeah, basically that was going to be the premise.
What's your opinion on the new Scream movies from 5, 6, and then?
They're fine. I thought number 6 was probably second in my list of the Scream
Mm.
franchise. Maybe third. I'd have to revisit number 2. But I like them. You know, it obviously you're never going to recapture the magic of the first
No,
one.
you
Never,
can't.
ever. But I like what they've done. You know, it's always I'm all for. You got to take all these remakes, sequels on their own merits. Like the Chucky remake.
Mm.
There was absolutely nothing wrong with it. I enjoyed it as a standalone film because I wasn't going in there going, "Oh, Chucky, Chucky, Chucky." You know, I went in there right. Okay, let's just watch it for what it is,
Mhm.
and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I tend to do that with remakes because you have to, if you go in with expected, like, I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan. And when the 2016 Answer the Call came out, oh, you remember how the internet went fucking
Mhm.
crazy. I just went in there with a, open mind. It's just a movie that has Ghostbusters in it. And guess what? Didn't taint my childhood. Didn't turn me away from my favorite movie of all time. It was just a movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. I hate when people get up in arms. I mean, don't get us wrong. I think Hollywood needs to stretch out a bit when it comes to imagination and
Yes.
stop rehashing things and try and relive glory because there's a reason they were gloriful in the first place.
Too many people try to gatekeep horror as well. It's like just
Oh
stop it,
yeah,
stop it.
Yeah,
We're
I
a
think
community. Let's be a community.
yeah, I think that's the
that's it.
problem. I think everybody has their favorite like genre of horror, like your slashers,
Mhm.
gore fests, like your hostels and stuff like that. And you're thinking man's horror. What's your favorite kind of subgenre of horror?
Slasher. I'm a go whore. I don't need the biggest plot in the world. Just give me blood and violence, and I like it.
So when the first Hostel come out, say what was your thoughts on that when that came out? Because that was
So
unlike
I remember watching that on a pirate DVD back in the day because you had the fella sat in a chair with the drill going in his mouth. I was like, oh, what's this? Obviously, I was like, that looks interesting. Let's buy that for like £3 or whatever it was. Went home, put it on, not knowing anything about it. I was like, oh, okay, here we fucking go. You know what I mean?
for me, it
Yeah,
was a big jump for me, like for Eli Roth from like I think it was it Cabin Fever was
Cabin
his
yeah.
Fever.
first real release, wasn't it? And then he hopped straight for me, I didn't know him for anything else between the two, and then he went straight to Hostel, and it was a big jump because I went back and recently rewatched Cabin Fever, but they did remake that, and it was absolutely terrible. I got 10
Yes,
minutes
fucking shite.
Oh, it was terrible. And when I rewatched it, I was quite surprised how gruesome it was, Cabin Fever, because it's not something I remembered from when I first watched it. So then my brain was like, okay,
The
that's
effects are brilliant. Practical effects are the way to be.
100%.
100%.
Yeah, we have a huge love of practical over
Yeah.
CGI, but CGI has its place. It has its place.
The thing, the thing, and but here's an interesting one about how weird Hollywood are. So, Cabin in the Woods, fantastic film, which you absolutely need to see more of because there was so much on that clipboard, the whiteboard we need to see. So that was sat on the shelf for like 2 or 3 years, and then Chris Hemsworth blew up, and they're like, "Oh, let's release this film." If you didn't know that, it was sat on the shelf for like 2 or 3 years.
It's insane to me. It's got Sigourney Bloody Weaver in it, and it's got Chris Hemsworth.
Yes.
Obviously, he was unknown at the time, but she wasn't.
It's fucking fantastic.
I just love the tongue-in-cheek way of that film. Like they're doing the betting, and then they're winding up the crazy guy, and there's all the horror tropes, but it's done for the reasons like because it's a game. It's just interesting to watch how it plays out.
So, out of that whole film is a bit of useless information. What do you think was the most expensive prop in that film?
I'm gonna go with his bong. The cup.
Yes, the telescopic bong. It's like 25 grand or something like that.
No.
Oh my God. I will always call him Topher because he was in Doll's House, which was a Joss Whedon TV show with Alicia Dishku. I always get a name wrong. I hope that's right.
Dishku or something, yeah.
Yeah, he was in with her, and his name was Topher in that, so he's always been Topher for me. I can never remember his name in anything else. Topher.
I always think of Topher Grace, and it's like, your name's Christopher. Just
come on. Yeah. Behave yourself. I just thought it's so clever because you don't know where you're at in that movie. Is it Evil Dead? Is it something else? Is it a slasher? Is it this? And then you've got in the background this whole game that's going on, and then you've got the cabinet of fucking monsters at the end. Like,
I love that they blatantly ripped off everybody. Though.
Yes, like everything.
No IP got untouched.
I need to see. I need to watch that again. It's been such a long time.
Yeah, I watched it a couple of weeks ago, and I know that's Friday the 13th remake. Yeah, another one of the greatest lines in cinema history. Your tits are stupendous.
See, now, if someone said that, I find that a compliment. I've got to be honest.
I'll be honest, I said it once. And luckily it was to a horror girl, and it was during, and she smiled and just went with it.
Good job. I take it as a massive compliment because I don't have any, so I'd be over the moon.
I did give them a little jiggle afterwards, so seal the deal.
Just
right,
cement that.
I'm cancelled now. See you later.
As long as she was part of the thing and she was happy with it, then that's all that matters.
I did shout surprise.
Well, surprise, motherfucker.
You warned her.
Well, I did use my greatest chat-up line. It's never failed me in my life.
Go on.
Roses are red, violets are blue. I've got a knife, get in the van. It's never failed me.
I think it's me thinking you gotta be sincere.
This is just descending into chaos now, isn't it?
It's just madness. But this is what we do. We're known for tangents. We never stay on track. Ever in a million years.
Okay, here's one. Who would win in a fight between Chucky and the leprechaun?
Leprechaun.
The leprechaun.
Leprechaun's got too many magical powers.
It's hard for me to like. I think the thing with the leprechaun is he's an underrated horror character that not a lot of people utilize much.
And he's been in space and Chucky hasn't.
And
he's been in the hood and Chucky hasn't.
Correct, yeah. And he's been in a bowling alley, and I don't recall Chucky being in a bowling alley either. There's one of the films where he was in a bowling alley, one of the leprechaun films.
It is one that we're going to cover as well. We are going to delve into the leprechaun.
It's peculiar for me because Warwick Davis, associating him with the leprechaun, he lives just around the corner from me here where I live. So it's insane to see kids grow up. So
I worked with Laz Alonso a few times, and everybody knows him as Mother's Milk from the boys, but to me, he's in Lep in the Hood. And I did bring it up to him, and he just looked at me like, don't ever say that again.
We literally last night, we spent the entire night catching up on the boys. We've got 2 episodes left of the new series, and it's just fucking as batshit crazy as ever. But
that's what we like.
Oh, I want to spoil something. Have you seen it? You've seen it, yeah?
I'm not up to date. I'm not up to date.
Okay. I'm not going to spoil the goddamn thing because it's just.
Thank you.
There was, there was a moment
I'll spoil
that
a
made me
Sixth
jump.
Sense for you. I'll spoil a Sixth Sense for you if you do.
Somebody did that to me. Someone actually spoiled it. So I didn't get the experience of he was dead the whole time.
And he still went to work. What a fool.
Oh, idiot.
Oh, you mug.
God.
Oh, I never even thought of that. Yeah, he did, didn't he? What a plank.
I mean, obviously working as much as you do, you're like me, we've got 2 jobs. We do our own day job, and then we have everything else that we do, like for my business and you for Monopoly. But do you get time to like read much, or do you have like a favorite horror author or somebody that has had a bit of an impact on your movie watching or your reading habits or something like that?
I can't read a novel. The only thing I can read is autobiographies.
Right.
Like I've got all the usuals. What have I got? Like the making of. I've got like Sausages behind me.
Yeah.
I'll be Dog Soldiers, and I'll be getting the Descent one from Janine Pipe when that comes out.
Yeah, because Jill told us she was working with him and oh God, you know her. She's always commenting on their lives. I've gone blank on her name. Descent, the lead lady from the.
Shauna MacDonald. Yeah.
Shauna. I wanted to say Sharona because I've got a friend called Sharona, but my brain.
I've never met Shauna in real life.
Have you not?
No, but I'd really like to see a Descent reunion next year. A proper one with all the girls.
I was gonna say because her and oh God, my brain has gone numb, like blank today. But the girl that ended up going into being in The Witcher, those 2, they were at a con or coming up in a con. I can't remember.
Myra Burning or something like that. Her name is Myra. I know what you mean. Yeah.
They either booked a con together, and I don't know whether it's that Horrified that's coming out in April next year, or they're doing a different one. But I've seen them 2 have been booked for something, and it's quite interesting.
I know, but I'm not going to promote Survival.
No, that's why you don't.
I know everything.
I know you do. But it'd be interesting because Neil was telling us about that kind of the whole new behind the scenes, and we've got we've got things in the pan where we've been talking to other people that have been in the films, and they're looking to come on and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where it's The Descent for me is one of those movies that is ridiculous in premise but fantastically executed.
Oh, it's just a masterpiece. I can't even begin to explain just how perfect of a film it is.
I mean, Craig does an amazing job in that. I give him his due. Him, and I've forgotten the guy that did it with him because
Leslie Simpson.
Right, yeah, we do
I think he was one of the crawlers, and obviously my boy Craig Conway. Got a lot of love for Craig. Such a lovely human being. Him and his missus.
Craig and Andrea, they are lovely.
Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, Craig, he didn't think anyone would want to see him or meet him. When he came for the reunion, because I think he was a last minute addition, wasn't he, Craig?
I did watch that on YouTube.
It was just because he's not really in Dog Soldiers, and it was really built around Dog Soldiers.
Yeah.
But obviously, Craig's got his own stuff. Soul is incredible. It's feeding time at the flipping zoo. Do you know what I mean?
I've got a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I've said this to Neil. I've said that my question to Neil was, would you call Soul a universal monster? Because Universal distributed Doomsday, therefore it makes Soul a universal monster, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Neil was really giddy because he was like, that's the films that I grew up on. They were my first films I've ever watched, the Universal Monsters. So I had him a t-shirt made with Soul is a Universal Monster on the front.
Nice.
I'll send it to him. But it's also got the logo from Doomsday on the back that says, one of the plumber's vans that's doing the chase at the end.
Yeah.
Our bread and butter. It's that slogan. It's on the back.
When two tribes go to war.
Yeah.
Oh, that was that was my first watching, because obviously I had to do my homework for Neil. I mean, I'd seen Dog Soldiers when it first came out. The Descent is one of
My personal favorite. Like, I do really enjoy that movie, but I was like, have to get in the frame. And I think I spent 2 days with Neil, and then it was 2 days of Neil's movies and 2 days of everything to do with Neil on YouTube. And I saw the Full of a Horror reunion on stage, and I honestly think I cried a little bit, because it's just how, I don't know, like, how connected they still are after all these years.
Oh yeah, it was boss and Spoon, Darren Morford that was a very tough get because he doesn't do nothing,
Yeah.
and he was just like I hosted that panel with Ben, me best mate Ben Fenlon, and I've never watched it back, to be honest, because I don't do the stage hosting because there's better people than me to do that job. I'm not an ego driver, but I had to do the Dog Soldier one because it was special to me. And to this day, I don't even know if I did good or shit. But
You did really well. You did. The whole thing was just magical, and it's
even the start, like Sarge, where I come up with the idea and I said to him, like, would you mind doing this? And Percy's like, absolutely. So obviously he'd be on the stage. Sarge, where are you? I'm in the cars. Just even a little simple thing like that was just boss.
Oh, it was just
Sean's a lot. I met Sean originally at, oh God, Heroes and Villains all those years ago when it was at the Olympia, because we did it because it was for James, what's his name, that ran Walker Stalker. So we did it. We sort of wanted to implement like all different genres. So that was a really weird year. Some of the people that came to that were absolutely amazing at the time. Like, I just remember John Barrowman, though, wearing a dress and hijacking an ice cream van and driving it around the Olympia.
That sounds like him.
That does not surprise me at all.
He was one of those things that stayed with me. Like, you'd watch him shouting out the window and he was driving around the entire convention of the Olympia.
Does not shock me in the slightest.
Yeah.
The maddest thing I've seen at a convention was, well, one of them was our star guest, David Arquette, outside riding a ghost train.
Oh, what?
I actually remember seeing that. Yeah.
That's kind of meta. That's like very meta.
I don't think there's any other convention in the world, bar for the love of horror, you'd see something like that.
That's insane.
That is amazing.
I think the one guest that ever stood out from all of those, though, for me, was I actually got to meet Stanley Tucci.
Oh, wow.
He's someone I'd like to meet.
He lives I think he lives here and he lives in the US because he's married to Emily Blunt's sister.
Yes. Yeah.
I
can't remember what her name is now.
Is it Emily Blunt?
Yeah.
John Krasinski from the Yeah. So he's married to her sister, so he lives here and he does a lot of like, chef stuff. But I remember going up to him because obviously he was there because he was in Captain America, so they had like, obviously it was heavy Marvel, heavy DC. But then they had random guests at this one, and I know it's a defunct show now, so there's no promotion of it needed. But they had the young lad that played Charlie and Willy Wonka that went on to play Norman Bates.
Oh yeah, he's in The
Good Doctor.
Freddie, him.
Is it The Good Doctor?
Yeah, where he's got some sort of
he's got some sort of Asperger's, and he's phenomenal in that.
Yeah, he was there, and then you had random people like obviously Michael Rooker turned up.
Wasn't Kirk Acevedo there?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Drew Powell was there as well, and he came up and had a massive chat with me. And my other half doesn't know anybody. And he went, "Who are you?" He went, "Oh, I'm in Gotham." And he went, "Never seen it." And walked on.
Amazing. Get in, Rob.
He did it to Mark Sheppard, though. Mark Sheppard came over to our stand and he was like, "Do you have any Crowley pops?" And he was like, Rob was like, "Oh, I don't think so." He was like, "Oh, have you not seen Supernatural?" And Rob was like, No, mate, I've never seen it." He went, "Oh, it's of me." And Rob went, "Don't know who you are." And Mark wet himself. He absolutely wet himself.
Mark's brilliant. He always comes up to me and says hello. And like, you know, I've tried to watch. I should love Supernatural, but I've never been able to get into it. But I've worked with most of the cast.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've probably done everybody now in it.
Yeah, I never got to work with Jared, but I worked with Misha and Jensen.
I was
What's
going to say,
Jensen like?
He was sound. Didn't get to speak so much. He was that busy, but he was
Oh.
nice, you know.
Oh,
I had a
good.
strange experience with the two of them, because they originally used to do the Supernatural Con that came over to Birmingham at the Hilton Hotel all those years ago, which was the one where Jensen got bitten by that very strange lady, which put him off coming back to the UK.
Are you fucking surprised?
No. And I don't think there's
Rule number 7, don't bite the guests.
Number 7 should be number 1.
Hey, there's a lot to go before that. So we had to sneak a guest out once, lying down in a van with all bags over him because he had a stalker waiting outside.
Oh, Jesus.
No.
Christ, with these people. Honestly, it's one of those things where the first time it ever really dawned on me how different people are when it comes to, you have the convention scene people who we know there's rules, we know there's ways of behaving, you know, there's an unspoken list of things like wear deodorant, don't bite the guests, you know, normal things. The first time it occurred to me that people who don't come to conventions don't know how to act was at For the Love of Fantasy this year.
Oh.
Vampire Diaries fans. There you go.
It's a whole nother genre and a whole nother,
it's a universe,
fan base that I have never experienced in my entire life. I mean, how many times have you had Ian and Paul at your shows, the standard shows?
It doesn't matter.
They've been, you know, so you don't get to see these people at those ones. I've never noticed these people at those, but For the Love of Fantasy, my God, it was a totally different beast of a show. Not bad, but just the people that were coming in the door was just a whole.
I've met them.
They were true fans, and I mean, when I say true fans, I mean like they would die for the TV series kind of fandom.
Yeah. My friend Zay was a licensed artist, and she was on Artist Alley at Liverpool a couple of years ago when they were there. And she capitalized, and she did a painting of the two of them, and a young grandmother and daughter came over, and this little girl was interested in it. It's an original art piece, like Carolyn sells, you know, for the amount of the work that she's done for it. And the mum thought it was a bit too expensive, so they walked away, and she looked absolutely heartbroken. And then her grandmother came back, bought the picture, went, and I thought this was a bit selfish actually. She went and got it signed by them and then give it to her in front of Carolyn. And I was like, did you not go and take your kids? Like, where would you not take the kids? So, yeah, just fucking left the little girl there. Just like, look, I got it signed. It's like, why would you not take her?
Brilliant.
Oh, crazy! Yeah, I met quite a few of them.
Yeah, it's strange how so many people view how many people view the famous people with different attitudes. It's like convention goers as standard, we know they're playing a part, we know they're here to service our needs, as in they're here to have their photo taken, they're here to give us an autograph, and yes, we're paying for the pleasure, but that's regardless. They don't have to be here. If they didn't want to be, it's as simple as that, you know. At the end of the day, if someone really doesn't want to do something, they won't. Case in point, Tom Savini. It's just, it was a whole other beast, that show. Not, like I say again, not in a bad way, but it was an honor for me to see that flip side, because we get into a funk of doing show after show after show after show, and you know, I do predominantly Monopoly shows, so that's how I know Neil, and we've been doing Monopoly since 2016 2017 shows, so we've been going a long time with them, and it's evolved into this beast now. It is an absolute beast of a machine that Andy and Emma have put together, that is like literally steamrolling its way through the convention scene. And this show, this HorrorCon coming up, is important for many reasons, which I'm yet to announce on here because reasons. But it's a whole beast of a show that I think is, I would say, probably the UK's biggest horror con for
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
100%.
Just for the level of not just footfall, but for the caliber of guests that you guys pull off. It's insane.
That, and it's changed the face of conventions for the UK. We didn't have this, a few years ago. We were just barely scraping the surface when it came to conventions. So now it's like, oh, shit, yeah, we have, and especially a dedicated horror one, which is as big as For the Love of Horror. It's massive for especially convention fans too. Who is Neil? You have so many reunions at For the Love of Horror. One, what's been your favorite year reunion, and what's your dream reunion?
Favorite one, Dog Soldiers first. Just it had to be. Obviously, the Lost Boys second, but my dream reunion. Trying to think what we haven't done.
I know
Oh.
I was trying to think while we've been talking.
Can't really say because we're trying to pull it off, and I don't want to give anyone away.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't want to obviously because there's a competition now. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
and
I understand.
I've just had the WhatsApp come through that's threw me off a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah, shit news, but it is what it is. You'll find out. But yeah.
Oh.
I was speaking to Andy. We were talking on the phone the other day, and we were supposed to get something sorted, and then Jensen dropped out of Liverpool
Yes.
and of is it Scotland as well?
Oh, no.
He dropped out both
Scotland,
those, and it just, the shit hit the fan basically. So I couldn't speak to him until after all that.
Yeah,
But
people just go insane. It's nuts.
it's crazy, but it's nobody's fault. It is what it is. They change filming schedules. You want to see them in things. That's the whole point in you subscribing to want to meet them. They're gonna be in shows, they're gonna be in movies that you want to see, but then you also have to think, well, in order to do that, they can't be at the convention.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we wrap up?
I've got one more question.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite all-time soundtrack to a horror movie?
Oh.
Give me a minute to think.
Or is there one standout theme tune to a horror that for you epitomizes horror, put the
I love the Thor theme tune, Hello Zep. I just love it. I like is it Friday the 13th Part 2, Harry Manfredini, when it's quite bouncy.
Yeah.
Is it number 2?
It's been a while since I've seen them.
I think
I never watched the first one on repeat.
The Friday the 13th, though, isn't he? He's done quite a few of them.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's number 2. I really want to get my laptop out and play it, but probably get done for copyright. But yeah.
Do you have one, Sammy?
Saw franchise. It's I have like done a 180 on that franchise over the last year, and I absolutely fucking love it. And I know it goes with one of my favorite bands as well, that they did a song that kind of has that theme running through it, so kind of worked out for us on that one.
Mine's Tubular Bells.
Oh wait, yeah.
There's something about that initial, not when it gets into the chorus, just that initial beginning of the
which sorry of the day?
Tubular Bells from the just the Mike Oldfield bit at the beginning. Like, my mum had that album in the house when I was growing up, and I didn't even know it was for The Exorcist, so I knew the song.
I would have freaked the fuck out.
So it was one of those songs that always made me feel uncomfortable. Like when I was playing, we used to play vinyl all the time. My mum used to be a DJ, so it was like one of those things where we were music heavy family growing up, and
yeah.
It always gave me the creeps, that song. And then obviously when I went on to watch, when I was old enough to understand The Exorcist and I watched it, I was like, oh
yeah,
that'll be
that one. Well, we'll wrap up, shall we?
Okay.
Yeah. So next week, yeah, because your eyes have completely changed, Neil. I'm not gonna lie. Bless your heart. It is what it is. Next week. Next week is another double feature. I don't know how I'm going to feel about this one, but we are doing Suspiria.
I'm glad you said it because for some reason I was
Cytherea. My tongue's come back to normal again.
Yeah.
Cytherea. Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting one. We are on YouTube, 8 o'clock every Monday. You can find the links for Bleeding Marvelous, Nerdy Up North, Monsters Up North. Where are they, Dan? They're
Down there. Somewhere, wherever they are, down there.
Audio for this episode and any other episode that comes out from Nerdy Up North is available on a Tuesday because that's my day off and that's when I do them. Neil, promote, go.
www.fortheloveofhorroruk.com. That's where all you, and obviously For the Love of Horror on socials, and my social is just Neil Hibbert 84. Nothing exciting at all. I probably need to change my name to the Naked Horror Collector, but that's another story.
Do
You should.
it.
You should do it.
Do it. Yeah, For Love of Horror is in 2 weeks' time.
2.5.
2 weeks on Friday we start. Yeah.
It's going to be great. We'll be there on the Saturday. I'm bringing some Nerdy Up North people with us.
You may see my bold, shiny head whizzing here, there, and everywhere.
I promise I won't do this to you.
And you'll sit popping in a corner somewhere.
I pretend I don't know you.
Please don't do that. I would be mortified.
Who's that weirdo waving at me?
Like,
security.
And then I'll be handing all my bags to Dan as I go shopping.
That's if you can find me. I'm sure I'm just going to be, like I said, I'll be sitting in the corner rocking, going, oh.
I think that's the first thing I did last time I saw you. I was like, here's my umbrella. I'll see you later.
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
just left you. Yeah. Is there anything else? Anything have I missed? No?
I always like to just sign off. My last, when you don't need me to speak no more, I always like to sign off with my little own word tribute. That's my signing off call.
Go on then.
Okay, so everyone watching, thanks for tuning in, and don't forget, stay scared.
He said it.
Bye.